Hey guys, I'm Elizabeth McCravey, a website designer and business coach for entrepreneurs and your host for the Breakthrough Brand podcast, the show that's all about pulling back the curtain on how to actually build a successful business. I don't skim the surface around here. If you want a deep dive into the nitty-gritty details of what it takes to run a successful business and stand out in a crowd, you're in the right place. After creating a multiple six-figure-a-year website design business in my 20s, I'm ready to share everything I've learned and everything I'm still learning because I believe the keys to building a thriving business should never be a secret. Here you'll find episodes that are actionable, direct, and fun, like friends chatting business over coffee, and a fresh, honest take on the reality of being an entrepreneur. If you're ready to master online marketing, branding, website design, mindset, and business strategy, then this is the podcast for you. It's time to build your breakthrough brand. Let's do this. All right, friends, it's time I give you an insider scoop on what my program Booked Out Designer is actually like, and I'm so excited for this. So today I'm chatting with one of my founding member students, Ida Winstead, and by founding member, I mean that group of around 40 people who went through the course as I was creating, and I've talked about that launch a few times on the podcast. Now I'll reference those episodes in the show notes. But we're talking about how her business has grown over the years, her story as a designer, and how Booked Out Designer has impacted her business. And I've known Ida in the online space for a while. So she's a longtime podcast listener, a longtime blog reader even, which we'll talk about in this episode. And she's a longtime Instagram friend, someone I feel like I know in real life, but I've actually never met in person. But we have been, face to face a lot throughout this course. And so it was so fun having her as one of my first students in the course, in this course I had been dreaming of for years, and it's fun too getting to chat with her about today. So a few highlights you're going to hear us talk about. First, how Ida booked out her client calendar, which is really interesting for us to talk through. How Booked Out Designer helped her refine her client process and discovery call experience. We talk a lot about the community of designers in Booked Out Designer, which they are seriously the best, what coaching calls are like, her favorite lessons and modules, and then from her perspective, what is the course format like so you know what to expect, and a lot of other stuff as well. And I've got to say, I seriously love these founding members of my course so much. Saying that I love them is so accurate. They are just amazing people. And multiple times I've told friends, I've told fellow business owner friends, how grateful I am to be friends with these people, to teach them, to know them. Seriously, they're just incredible people, and you're going to see this today in Ida. But guys, as I'm recording this intro, just to show you how incredible they are, just this week, some of the founding members gifted me the sweetest baby gifts and the world's sweetest, baby shower-esque note ever. So some of them all pitched in together and got me the stroller from my baby registry and a big ol' Amazon gift card. And then they also put together this really cool digital card where you flip through it and it's notes from a bunch of them where they signed it and wrote sweet messages, wrote some prayers, wrote some encouragement about becoming a new mom and some sweet things about the course. And seriously, when I read the card, I cried. This pregnant lady definitely cried, which I cry really easily right now, but I think I would have cried regardless because the messages were just so sweet and so meaningful. I have the card ready to print out that digital version. And I'm truly just so grateful for them and just grateful that I've been able to know these people, I guess the best way to put it. So a quick podcast shout out to all of you founding members. I seriously love you guys. And yeah, I'm so grateful for you. So another thing I want to say before we pop into this episode, in a few short weeks, Booked Out Designer will be opening again for new students to join the community. So you can be friends with all these cool people I'm telling you about. And the program is the perfect place for brand and website designers who want to build a booked out in-demand design business. It's a lot like this podcast. So if you love this podcast, you'll probably love the course as well. And the doors open on July 12th. So mark your calendars, get on the wait list. When you buy Booked Out Designer, you get the amazing course, which is over 90 lessons of content. You also get an incredible private Facebook community with actual access to me in it and some really cool bonus bonuses as well. So to get on the wait list, go to elizabethmccravey.com/BOD for Booked Out Designer. You can get some more info there, put your name down, and you do want to be on the wait list because next time the doors open on July 12th, but even like more into the future, you'll get more info about it. And there will be some special offers for people on the wait list during this launch. So that's a lot of information, but now I want to get into this incredible, fun conversation with Ida. Okay, so Ida, welcome to the Breakthrough Brand Podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So, okay, first to start, tell everyone about you and your amazing business and who you are, who you serve, and what you do as a designer.
Yeah, so I'm Ida, and I own Higa Design Co., which is a brand and website design company. And I mainly work with wedding professionals, so like photographers a lot. And I've been doing this for about 2-ish years. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yes. Okay. And then tell everyone too where you live and where you're from.
Yeah. So I live in Raleigh right now, and I'm originally from Norway, and I moved here because of my husband, and we actually met in high school because I was a foreign exchange student at his school.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I didn't know that. I was curious about how y'all met because I knew he was what brought you here. That's really, how long have you been married?
4 years coming up.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Okay. Love that. And then, okay, as far as designing, so you've been a designer for 2 years. What kind of design work do you primarily do?
So I basically just do branding and website design.
Awesome. And with what platforms?
Show it.
Yeah. You used to do Squarespace too, though.
Yes. Yeah. So I actually was on Squarespace up until a year ago, and I even redesigned my own website on Squarespace in January of last year. And then 3 months later, I was like, nope. Yeah, I'm doing the complete switch.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. And I had that similar experience with WordPress of was on WordPress for a long time and then switch. How did you decide to make the switch? I know that's something, I have so many questions for you that we'll get into, but I know that's something a lot of designers discover a new platform and are like, how do I know which one to use? What would you say was the thing that made you decide to truly switch to only doing one?
Yeah. So I had been kind of playing around with the idea for 6 months before then of do I want to switch? Do I want to stay? And then we actually talked, and you were like, wait, is your website on Show It? Kind of looks like it. And that took a lot of code to get to that point. And then I started having clients that were they wanted to be on Show It. And then I designed a couple of websites on Show It. And when I went back to Squarespace afterwards, it just felt very restrictive. It's hard to make go back once you've made the switch. And I was like, I'm just going to go full force Show It. And it also makes a lot more sense for my ideal clients, which ultimately was what made me really want to do it.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense with the wedding industry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I love all your Show It design. So that's really fun. I love seeing all the work you've been doing lately. Okay. I also want to share how we first connected, and then we're going to get into talking all about Booked Out Designer. But I don't know how we first connected, but it was something, I feel like we started chatting on Instagram however many years ago. It could have even been 2 years when you started your business. And you're a podcast listener. You were the first buyer of Booked Out Designer, which is really fun. And whenever people who listen to podcasts have heard me talk about it, whenever I did the course calls, interviewing people who were interested in the course over a year ago now, you were one of the first people who I did that with as well. So it's really fun getting to chat with you now about everything. Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravey.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravey.com/CHM. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, so I was actually curious to see if you remember this, but I think how we connected initially was because I found a lot of your blog posts on Pinterest, and then I found your ideal client workbook. And I did that one and it was like incredible, but the first page had like some words cut off.
Oh, and you messaged me about it. I thought I do remember that.
It was so random. I was like, I didn't want to message you, but then I was like, I would want to know though if that was me, because like it didn't affect the value, but I know once you put a freebie out there, you don't ever go back and look at that. And so I was like, hey, just want to let you know, like totally cool. Like it didn't impact my value of it or anything, but just in case you want to know.
That's so funny. I feel like I do actually remember that. And that is true that you never look at a freebie again after you put it out there. So it's like, that is actually really helpful. Yeah.
That was like right as your podcast had just come out, I think. So I've been listening since like the very beginning, and then it just kind of went from there.
Yes. It's so fun. And like, I don't think I ever have shared this on the podcast, but with the course, so you were the first person to buy it, like I said, but you actually bought it like 2 days before it launched because you found the sales page, because it was like it was like just what it would obviously be at my web address. And then you messaged me and were like, do you care if I go ahead and like buy it? And I was like, actually, like go ahead, because it's already like done and ready. And so that was really special though, to like have you buy it like immediately like that. And then also that was part of the reason we went over on numbers, because I forgot that you had bought it days earlier, and I didn't forget you bought it, but out in the calculating, you were not counted. So yeah, that's just so fun.
Yeah, that was so funny. I'm such like an Enneagram 1 too. So I was like, I want to wait, but I also want to get it, because I was like, this is going to sell out. And you were like, no, you don't have to worry about that. And I was like, no, this will sell out. Like, I know it will.
Yeah, you were believing in it too, which is, yeah, that's really special. So, okay, let's talk about the course. So you are a founding member of it. You've actually taken you've taken a lot of it. I don't know what percentage exactly. I actually looked this morning, so I probably should know that, because I can see everyone's progress like we were talking about, but you've taken a lot of the course. You've been to all the coaching calls. You're very active in our Facebook community. There's so many questions to ask you, but I want people listening to be able to feel like get to know what the program's like from someone besides me talking about it. So I guess the first thing is like, what has been your favorite part of it, of the whole experience so far?
Oh my gosh, a lot of things. I think my favorite though has been, because I've taken a lot of courses, and normally you can tell that they're telling you enough to like succeed, but you can also tell that they're keeping some stuff to themselves. And I feel like you don't do that at all. Like you're like, oh, you want to see the inside of this? Here you go. Here's a Loom video for you. Like you're sharing everything. And I think that's been so like helpful to see. And also just seeing like the behind the scenes stuff, not just like, oh, here's how I would do it, but more so like, oh, here's how that looks in Dubsado or in my process or whatever that is. You know, that's been so helpful for me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And I do love that we get to do that in the course of like, there is a ton of the like super behind the scenes aspects to it. What have been your favorite modules?
When you asked me this before, I was like, oh, this one. And then I keep coming up with new ones, but I think the pricing strategy one, and then also the waitlist module or lesson has been
discovery call. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And let's talk. So, okay. You said pricing. Yes, there's a whole module on like how to figure out your pricing, strategic pricing, the packaging, all of that. And then, let's talk about that right now, actually. So the discovery call module, I talk through 3 different like methods for discovery calls, and you're doing the third one now, right? Of the way getting into it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're booked out though in your design business, like multiple months in advance now. And I know we were just talking about this before we hit record, but like, what has that been like that whole process of becoming booked out?
It's been very interesting. Like I was telling you, a year ago, that was my dream, was to be booked out months in advance. And I always thought that was like, once you get to that point, it's just smooth sailing. Like you've made it. It's easy. But then I found like when I came into the Facebook group, like I was probably one of the first people like posting in there because I was feeling so like frazzled and like overwhelmed because I was like, okay, I'm booked out. Like at that point it was like 6 months and I was like, what do I do? This is very overwhelming. And I'm used to very like quick turnarounds in my business and very like high energy levels with my clients. And that's been something I worked through with the help of you and like the Facebook group the past couple of months of like, how do we keep that momentum going when you do have to wait like 3 to 4, 5 months to start your project really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So with that, what solutions have you come up with for like keeping momentum and stuff? 'Cause I know you have asked that question a few times.
Yeah. So I think right now I'm trying something new. So I'm trying what I call copy calls. So basically like a check-in like 3 weeks before we start the project to just kind of do a like check-in, like, hey, where are you at? Like, how are you feeling? Anything I can help answer and kind of just like get that excitement back up. Cause when you get off the inquiry call or like the initial consult call, everybody's like so excited. And then I found that was kind of like losing a little bit of like the excitement throughout that waiting process. So I think that really helped because I just did one last week and it was so much fun.
Yes, I saw you sharing about that. That's really fun. And with that too, like right now when you get inquiries, since you are booked out, what do you do for that?
So right now it's with wedding industry, like with COVID and everything, they just picked up work. So this is like their busy season. So it's been a good season for me. I've literally just raised my prices really high because I wasn't trying to book anything, which sounds crazy, but I was like, I just want to focus on the people that are already in here, kind of like the wait list thing that you talk about in the course, and then being able to serve those people really well. And then kind of go from there to keep booking people.
Yeah, I love that. And I remember too, on one of, I guess it was probably the first coaching call, we talked about how, or maybe it was in the Facebook group, but how you were at a point where it was like you needed to raise your prices because of the demand you were having and the amount of bookings you were getting. It just made sense. So I think that's fun to see you get to do that. Okay. And then other wins you've had in the course. I mean, one big one that we talked about is that you started your own podcast, which was something you weren't sure you wanted to do, but you knew you wanted to do something different with your marketing. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I came into the first coaching call kind of like frazzled. I was booked out and then I was like, what's next? Right. And you were like, why don't you try something different for like your marketing, like content marketing? And you mentioned podcasts. And I was like, honestly, hadn't even thought about it. But then I started asking my audience on Instagram. I was like, hey, how do y'all prefer to consume your content? Like what makes sense? And to my surprise, everybody loves podcasts. So I was like, I guess I'm starting a podcast. And it all kind of happened very quickly, which is like super fun because I was like, I just got to get going because if not, how it goes, it just goes on the back burner and then it never happens. So I just kind of did it.
Yeah. And are you loving podcasting?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been so much fun actually, but it was very different. And I honestly never thought I was going to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, you're doing a great job. And I've seen people being so enthusiastic already too about your show, which is super exciting. Yeah. And I mean, I think, and just for people listening to it, the course is not like here's how to launch a podcast or you're supposed to launch a podcast. But because we do the coaching calls and like Facebook community, you can figure out like, okay, what makes sense for you. And we have people doing YouTube, like blogging, all kinds of different, and podcasting too. So yeah, I think that's really fun. Okay. Another question I wanted to ask you about, I know you wrote a post about it in the group and then we all were starting to talk about it, but just, I guess last week, the course got like completely delivered at the time we're recording this. And one of the modules was the real calls with clients. Tell everyone like what that is in your words, like what that module even is.
It's literally watching Elizabeth work with her clients. It is the most fun. Like imagine just like sitting in Elizabeth's office while she's on calls with clients. That's basically what it's like. It is the most fun module of all time, I would say.
I'm glad you like it. Okay, yeah. I mean, Okay, and tell me, I'm just so curious. It really feels like it felt vulnerable to me, like putting those out there, which all the clients who are in them like approved it all and are like, we're all on board and excited for it to be included in the course. But like, what has been impactful about getting to like see the like calls and like see it all in action?
I think, and I posted this in the group too, but just being able to see like even at your level of projects and clients that you get to work with, you can still be like yourself and you can still be fun and like kind of chill. And, you know, because we all have this idea that, oh, to get to that level that you want to get to, you have to change or whatever, but you really don't. You can still be yourself and you can have fun with your clients and they'll still trust you and still like want you to deliver the best product for them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fun. Which one's your favorite call? Or do you have a favorite if you can remember?
I think the one with Rick, like his initial kickoff call was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so fun. Yeah, so Rick Mulready's one of the people in there, and there's like 2 different meetings with him. He's so fun on meetings and as a client. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that one. Yeah. Okay. And then let's talk too about, so you said, I know one module you said you got a lot from too was the client experience module, which is like the super massive, like how to work with clients start to finish from like after they booked to like launching them off into being done with the project. What like takeaways have you had from that module?
Oh, that's good. So I think, you know, with me being almost like a little further along in my business now, you know, being booked out and like having kind of know what I'm doing with my clients, I'm more like picking and choosing what I want to take on, you know, whereas if I was newer in business, I would be like, okay, tell me everything, just I'll do what you say. But now I'm like, okay, let me see what makes sense for me and my clients and how I already know them. But definitely wanting to increase prices and stuff like that. I think it's very beneficial to see how you run your projects and like what little touches make it feel worthy of that price tag and make it feel that elevated experience.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. Any other videos you want to talk about that were like especially if you can remember off the top of your head that we could tell people about?
I think the first one, which is, it's been a little while since I watched that one, but I remember that one being so like good, like the money mindset stuff that you talk about early on in the course, and it not being like, okay, let's become a great website designer, but understanding that it's about like becoming a great business owner too. And like having that marketing mindset behind it all so that you're not just showing up, but you're showing up like intentionally along the way.
Yeah, it's a lot more than like design stuff in the course. Very cool. Okay. And then I know another big win you feel like you've had that you've mentioned is new friends made through the community. Tell me about that.
Oh my gosh, it has been the best. Like it's one of those things like you don't realize how much you're missing it until you find it kind of thing. But I have had so many like Zoom calls with people from the group and just like random coffee chats or like, hey, can you help me out with this real quick? And like, you know, Instagram DM friends and all of that. Like I think I have a call this week actually with one of the girls from there. Oh, awesome. And so being able to like take those like friendships that you make in the group, but then also take them to the next level of actually like feeling like you're friends and not just like acquaintances. That has been so good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that you've done coffee chats with people too. Is it just like what all happens on the coffee chats when you're just like, I'm going to just chat with someone?
We literally just talk about business, you know, talk about like whatever is going on that week or struggles we're having or fun things too. Like what are your big goals? Like what do you hope to do the next couple months, that kind of stuff, just to like have somebody cheering you on. And I really found that like, even though we do similar things, we all have different like ideal clients and audiences. So it never feels like competition. And even like the Facebook group is like that too. Like it never feels like, oh, I can't share too much because then somebody's going to come snag this client from me or whatever. It's always just like very supportive.
Yeah. I tell Adam this all the time, but I like literally just think y'all are all like the greatest people ever. It's like my review of everyone in the course. I'm like, these are amazing women and one man in there right now who's also amazing. But like just, yeah, y'all are awesome and such cheerleaders for each other. And it is like everyone in there is a graphic designer for the most part. We have some people who also do photography though and other things, but then it's like all different website platforms and ideal clients and some not even websites, some stationary branding, all of it. Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about coaching calls. Tell everyone like what those have been like, because I know you've attended most or all of them, I think.
Yeah, I've been to all of them and they are so high energy. Like they're like my favorite thing. And we like the way we've done them before with the Zoom and stuff, we've all been able to kind of chime in on the chat. Like that chat is on fire the whole time.
Yes.
Like everyone's just like chatting away. And it's been so fun because like, yes, you're sharing like your take on whatever the situation is, you know, whoever's getting coached gets to share their problem or pain point or whatever, and you'll share your experience on that. But we all also get to kind of chime in. And so it's been so fun because we all have like experiences that we can pull from and be like, okay, and here's what I've done in this situation, or here's what I would do if this was me. And that helps so much because when you're in it, it can be so hard to see like the solution or like figure it out. So having like you and everybody else to kind of count on to help you has been so much fun.
Yeah. And you do a great job being in that chat, helping people. And I think too, like, I'm curious what you think about this, but I know for me, like, in the years of running my business, it's helpful to be like asked to think about someone else's problem and think about what solution you would have, even when you're not like the person who's like being like directly asked the question. It's like, it's a good like mental exercise in a way even.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cause I think it prepares you because even if I'm not the one going through whatever it is, like it's probably going to happen because business issues are very like similar in a lot of ways where we all go through the same stuff at different times. And I think that's been, you know, another great thing with a community is like some people might have a rougher week and then we can help lift that person up. And then next week it's you or, you know, somebody else that's like, hey, I need support this week.
Yeah, that's been a huge thing of seeing a place for people to share vulnerably about different things without your ideal client being in the Facebook group to see it. It's like these are just fellow creatives who are doing like the same stuff as you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know I've posted in there before. I'm like, I don't even think this is a question. I don't know what I'm hoping to get out of this, but like help. Anybody felt the same way kind of thing and it just sometimes, you know, it's all just making sure that you don't feel so alone and like just hearing that somebody else has been there and that it's going to be okay. You know, that helps so much and just being like, okay, I can do this too.
Yes. And another thing, going back to coaching calls. So I don't know if I've told you this, but for a bonus for this current group that we're about to, like, this is coming out right before the launch, but whenever we open the doors again, one of the bonuses is mindset coaching calls with Becky Hoshek, who you got to do one call with her. The founding members, we had our first call like 2 weeks ago, mindset call with Becky. What was that like? I know you were one of the people who really like just loved it. What was that experience like with the mindset call?
It was incredible because I know mindset is so important in business. Like that's basically all of it. And just hearing her thoughts on it and like, again, hearing that like what we go through is very similar for a lot of us. It might show up different ways, but overall it is very similar, and like just learning some tools that we can use to better ourselves so that we can actually handle the situations instead of becoming like victims of those situations and then push our businesses forward was super helpful.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear more from her.
Yeah, I'm excited for all the extra calls. Yeah, so Becky's a life coach, certified through the Life Coach School, which is like what I think is like the life coaching program to do. And she's just so incredible. And so that's something that everyone will get is those calls with her and some calls with me as well, which is really fun. Okay, another question I have for you. Like, what's your favorite part thinking about as a designer? You've been in business 2 years. Your favorite thing about running your own business and doing design in general, or some of your favorite things?
I love the freedom. So like having the freedom to like make my own schedule and also make work for me, because I think you mentioned this before in your story too, but like sitting in a cubicle was not for me because I would normally just finish my job by like 10 o'clock and then I would just sit there, and I don't like that. I'm like, if I'm done, I'm just going to leave my office and go have fun and do something else. And then also having, you know, the flexibility to travel when it's not COVID times to go see my family and stuff like that is huge. And then I love helping people. I always tell my husband, like, yes, I do design, but I don't think it's really about that. Like design is like my tool, but really what I do is helping people like reach their goals and their dreams. And so whenever my clients are like, oh my gosh, here's my win for the week, I'm like, yes, I did it. Like I helped you get there. That's huge for me.
Yes. And like designing such a huge way to do that, of like helping other businesses reach their goals. Yeah, I love that. And before you started your business, what were you doing?
I was working in corporate America.
As a designer or was something else?
No, I have no background in design whatsoever.
Cool.
I went to school for marketing, and then I'm pretty much self-taught in design, which is interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, it's so doable though. Like I feel like more people need to hear those stories of people who are like making it as designers, but like don't have a graphic design degree or whatever. What was your corporate job?
I worked in communications.
Okay.
Yeah. So communications and marketing and kind of,
cool.
doing stuff like that.
Love that. Okay, let's talk about the course format and like what people are getting when they purchase. So I know I can talk about it all day, but how would you describe to someone who's like thinking about joining, like what's the format like of the course?
Yeah. So the format's really like, honestly, like your comprehensive guide to running a design business. Like I think if you're new, like this is perfect for you, but also if you're further along in your business, like that's awesome too. Because I remember when we did those course calls, like almost a year ago or whatever, when the course finally came out, I was like, wait, is this still for me? Because it had been 6 months and my business had changed so much. But then I was like, no, I know Elizabeth knows what she's doing. Everything you put out is always so incredible. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And I found so much value in it, even being like further along in my business now. But I think like it's perfect for anybody. But also like the format itself is very much like self-paced, obviously, like you can take it however you want. And I've been jumping around a lot just based on what I'm currently needing in my business, which has been awesome because it's like, okay, I can watch a lesson and then I can implement it right away. But you can also do it like the way you've set it up to actually go through the whole thing. But there's a lot of lessons in there. And so it can feel a little overwhelming just because there's so much and you want to learn it all and you want to like, implement everything right away. And I know Becky talked about this on our coaching call too. Like you can get to that point where it's like almost exhausting when you're taking a course, but you have everything in there to succeed. And I've been taking the approach of like, just get like slow and steady has been really good. And then there's a lot of you like talking kind of like the podcast, doing educational stuff, but so much more in depth. And then like, obviously the behind the scenes stuff that we talked about earlier with seeing you put it into action and how it's actually done. So not just you talking, but also showing how to do it.
Yes, I love that. And I love that you're skipping around. Like that's actually, so like the course is in a certain order, but I would recommend skipping around in courses. I think people get too hung up on like feeling like they have to go start to finish. And then because of that, the piece they really need right then, they don't get to for months because they're like feeling like they have to start at the very beginning. So yeah, I think that's the jumping around is super smart. And it is a lot of content. It's like, I didn't count. I looked at the count. It's 91 or 92 lessons, which is like, again, like a ton of content. Most of those are video lessons of teaching. But yeah, if you can do it at your own pace and take what you need, which, I mean, you've taken so much of it already in like not that long of a period of time, which is awesome that you're like able to be taking it and implementing it.
Yeah. And I love how you give the tip of like downloading the Kajabi app to your phone, because then it's kind of like listening to a podcast episode. And then I'll always like make a note like on my phone if there's something I actually need to go back to, because some of it is very just like informational or like, okay, I'm going to store that for later. But then if there's, the lookbook and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I need to go actually watch this module and not just listen to it. I'll make a note of it and like go back and watch it later.
Yeah. So have you done most of it on the app then, or are you doing most of it on like which one are you doing the most of?
I think most on the computer, because I'll just have it like running while I'm like designing or doing like other little things here and there. But also if I go for walks like with my dog or something like that, I'll just like have you playing in the background.
Yeah, it really is so similar to podcasting that way once you have it on your phone. So I love that you're doing it that way. And that's how I feel like in order to actually complete courses, we need to be willing to like listen to it when we're walking our dog, and that sort of thing versus being like, I have to always deliberately sit down for hours taking it.
Yeah, because I used to be like, oh, I have to sit down with a notebook and take like super dedicated notes and all of that. And with this one, I've been more like, it's so similar to how you do your podcasting. I almost call it like your podcast on steroids. Like it's the same, like if you love the podcast, you're going to love the course because it's so similar. And the way you structure it is very similar in how like you can take it as a course student, I would say. And so because of that, it's so easy to just take it with you and listen to it as you're doing other things too.
I love that tip. Okay. And then I have one final question relating to the course. Then we're going to go into like some other things of how everyone can find you and some other like more rapid fire questions. But thinking about how the course is launching soon, and we'll put the details in the notes for this episode on like when it's actually launching, because I don't know at this exact moment. We're recording this a little bit in advance. So, but for people who are like, okay, I hear you, Ida, like what? I'm thinking about this, but I have like some hesitations for whatever reason. What would you say to people who are thinking about joining?
I would say just do it. I mean, I signed up before even it was live. So I know it's worth it, but I know it can be scary to like invest in your business. But I will say like, I would invest in this course 100 times over. Even like the Facebook group alone is worth the course, but then you get all this incredible stuff from Elizabeth and you get to like see how she runs the business on the back end too, which is so cool. So not just like, oh, here's what you should do, but like, here's how I do it, which is such a big difference, I think.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you. You're the best. I just love getting to chat with you. I feel like I need to be one of the people you do this coffee chat thing with. We need to schedule one of those. Okay. So some rapid fire questions though. Let's see. I already kind of asked you one of these, so I'm going to skip it, but let's do this one. Best hack as a fellow designer, because we have some other designers listening. So what's something like a software or something you do with your clients that's a hack we all need to know?
I would say support your clients in launching and like creating hype around your project together. Whenever I do that, my clients always tag me, and it's so great for like your social media marketing to get those things to share in your stories too. So like whenever they can have a successful launch, that makes you look better as a designer. So I think that's my biggest tip.
Yes, that's such a good one. And you do get that a lot. I always am seeing people reposting when you have launches, and well, you reposting them, I mean, because they post about you, which is awesome. Okay, favorite business book?
Profit First.
Yeah. Tell everyone why you love Profit First.
So, I mean, going back to like the pandemic last year, so I run Profit First in my business. I run a like modified version of it, but I have like business savings. So when the pandemic hit, I wasn't so worried about like, oh, am I going to get clients? Because, you know, people started to not want to book designers because they were like, I got to save my money. And everybody kind of acted that way. And so I felt very good with where I was sitting because I had money saved up, and like the Profit First method allowed me to do that. And it also allowed me to like invest in your course without even thinking about it, because I was like, oh, I already have that money saved and set aside. And so it allows me to like grow my business, but also pay myself.
Yeah. I need to read Profit First. I still have never read it.
Yeah, you definitely need to read it.
And that's a common one people say when I ask like favorite business book. I read like the beginning of it, but then I quit on it, which is not cool. But I know it's like supposed to be awesome. So
you probably finish it in like a day. It's so easy. It's such an easy read.
So you thought it was like a fun read then?
Yeah. It's not super, like he talks about this toothpaste thing. And so every time I brush my teeth, I think about this book. And it's been like 2 years.
That's a good little like connection he made you have. That's funny.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I need to read that. Maybe that will be like a maternity leave book for me, of something to like really dive into, because I know I would appreciate a lot of the principles in it. I think I do a little bit of Profit First already.
You probably do.
Because of like my bookkeeper, which you know, Madison, of her kind of like pulling some of that in. But yes. Okay. This was so fun. To close us out, I want you to tell everyone about your awesome podcast so people can go listen to it, and just where they can connect with you on your website and Instagram and all the things.
Yeah. So my podcast, it's called the Hig Hour Podcast, and you can find it wherever you're listening to podcasts. And then you can find me on Instagram and my website. It's higgydesign.co everywhere. So super easy.
Yes. Love it. Okay. Ida, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast today and for staying until the end. I appreciate you being here. And if you enjoyed this episode, then I want to invite you to check out my online course and coaching program for designers, Booked Out Designer. In this program, I teach you how to build a successful in-demand booked out business as a designer. You'll learn everything from the exact experience I take my clients through to things like figuring out your niche, mastering discovery calls, pricing your services for profit, creating contracts that will not cause you legal troubles, and my exact social media strategies to book clients. You even get to watch recordings of me in actual meetings with my actual clients, so you can really learn through what you're seeing. We take things you're learning on this podcast and so many topics I never even cover on this show and deep dive into them. So in addition to the amazing course, the course is 9 modules of teaching with over 90 lessons. You get group coaching calls with me and access to an exclusive Facebook community of designers just like you. And fun fact, this isn't one of those kind of Facebook groups where the founder never comments on posts or you never see them in there. You'll find me there all the time, ready to help you out with any business question you have. So to get info on the course and to see when the doors will be opening again, head to elizabethmccravey.com/BOD, short for Booked Out Designer. I hope to be able to coach you and teach you inside of the course soon. And don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening so that you never miss an episode. And a great way to support the show is to leave a rating and review, share it with a friend, share it on social media. All of that will help get the word out. All right, I'll see you again next week.